Welcome back to Cross Rifle Outdoors. Today we're going to be cloning the XM193. Today we're going to be using CCI 400 small rifle primers. For powders, we're going to use H335 and H4895. We're going to be shooting for a velocity of 3,150 feet per second out of a 16-inch barrel. Do not use 5.56 in a 223 only rated barrel. Today we're going to be using a 55 grain Hornady spare point boat tail. We're going to be using our starting charges of Hodgdon 4895 24 grains, working up in half grain increments until we hit 25.5 grains. For H335 we'll be using 23 grains, moving up in half grain increments till we hit 24 grains. I've taken the liberty of doing all of the case prep, priming, and throwing our powder before this, just for time's sake in the video. So let's go ahead and we'll get our rounds seated. For some of our powder charges, we're going over the manufacturer's published data. So when you exceed the manufactured powder charge, you do so safely and at your own risk. Alright everyone, I will see you out on the range. I will see you out on the range. Welcome to the range everyone. We're going to continue our XM193 clone video. We are working with an Adams Arms gas piston upper DPMS lower with an EOTech sight. Originally we were looking for a velocity of 3,150 feet per second. I just went ahead and chronographed some mil-spec XM193s. So the velocity that we just got was an average of 2,950 feet per second. So in order to match that velocity, we're going to go ahead and start off with Hodgdon 4895, 24.5 grains, and see where that puts us. Our steel is at 50 yards. That can't be right. 391 feet per second. $759. We might be on meters per second. Go ahead and get that restarted. $678 feet per second. Something is going on here. 948 feet per second. 1,331 feet per second. We're going to try turning that chronograph off for a little while. I'll check our brass for pressure signs. I'll see you on the next batch. Alright, let's see if we got this chronograph fixed. Our next batch will be H4895, 25 grains. We have an error. 2947, man, we're just about there already. 2908. 2957. 2971. Alright. Went ahead and checked the brass. We're starting to get just a little cratering on the primer. Nothing really to be concerned about. So we're going to go ahead and shoot our next load of H4895. See what kind of velocity it's giving us. Error. 380. We might be having issues with the chronograph again. 3,052. 2971. 2990. Alright, we just got done looking over the H4895 powder charged 25.5 grains. We're starting to get some flattened out primers. Cratering is becoming more and more prominent with some ejector swipes. Wouldn't recommend running that load all the time, but we've already hit our targeted velocity that we're shooting for. We're going to go ahead and continue on with our H335, 23 grains. H335 is a pretty common powder that a lot of people will bulk load their 223s with. So we want to make sure we're hitting this powder. We'll go ahead and shoot. Our still is still at 50 yards. And the chronograph that we're using is a Caldwell Ballistic Precision Chronograph. We have an error. Error. Oh, come on, don't give me nothing but errors. Looks like we have nothing but errors. So we don't have a velocity on our 23 grains of H335. I had one casing that didn't extract quite as far. Looking at it, I'm seeing no issues moving up to the higher load. We'll reset the chronograph and try and get a velocity for our next group. Alright, we're going to move forward with our H335 23.5 grains. Please excuse the breeze. I live in a part of the United States where the wind never stops. So let's continue and see what kind of velocity we can get if the chronograph is going to cooperate with us. 2781, 2774, 2800, 2774, 2689. So we're not quite there yet. Hopefully our next load will put us there. H335 is one of my all-time favorite powders, so I'd really love to see this succeed. Little side note for those who think this 55 grain spire point round that I'm running for these tests is not even anywhere close to as good as a full metal jacket. I've been checking the steel after each shot. It's new steel. I want to see how it's holding up. It's AR 500 3/8 inch thick. But one thing that really surprised me for what's considered a varmint bullet is that we're leaving really small divots in this steel plate at 50 yards. I'm very surprised about that. The 55 grain actual XM193s are leaving slightly bigger divots, but man, there's not a whole lot of difference. Alright, up next is 24 grains of H335. Our brass is still looking good. Let's see if we can get our velocities. $27.85, $27.92, $27.69, $28.07, $27.78. This is definitely a powder that we're going to have to revisit. We'll make a XM193 Part 2, and we'll see if we can get H335 to hit our target velocity. We're a long ways off, but we should be able to do it. I'll check the brass and we'll go from there. Thank you for watching our Part 1 of the XM193 cloning video. Please stay tuned for more videos.